Hello, everyone, and today we're gonna have an AMA session with DIMO. Can you hear me, DIMO?
Yep, loud and clear.
Perfect. How are you today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. So today, the goal of our AMA slash podcast is to familiarize people with what DIMO is and what it is for, what it is solving, and why it is on a blockchain. So, kind of the agenda. And before we start, why don't you give us a quick introduction of what you do at DIMO and how did you join it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. My name's Joe. I've been at DIMO for almost a year and a half now. Been in crypto for 8 years, worked at Consensus for a time, and the stacks in the Bitcoin Web3 ecosystem for a little bit there. And currently I lead content at DIMO as well as a lot of other marketing functions. We wear a lot of hats around here. We're a nimble startup. Everyone's splitting duties pretty evenly. Yeah, and excited to talk a little bit about DIMO. If you don't know, it stands for Digital Infrastructure for Moving Objects. And at its core, it's an open source, decentralized network for vehicles and mobility data. Think about it as kind of the missing layer that connects cars and drivers and apps and OEMs, or big car manufacturers, but without those big corporations owning all of your data or limiting what you can do with it.
And
And
what kind of data
go,
do you collect?
All sorts of data, and all the telematics data that's coming off of a car. DIMO really matters because most of us drive cars that resemble supercomputers now, especially like Teslas or other EVs, are giving up tons of vehicle signals, whether it's battery health and GPS to maintenance alerts to engine error codes to battery voltage, all that stuff. It comes straight out of the car, and most of the time it's being harvested by the manufacturer or third party data brokers, and the driver doesn't really see any of the value from that. They can't use it or control it or earn rewards from it. And DIMO changes that. It's a protocol that gives drivers full ownership over their vehicle data, and then allowing them to use it in an app ecosystem and earn rewards and access better service providers, whether it be insurance, maintenance, car sharing, the works.
So basically, outside of just data collection, you guys are also building an ecosystem for the data so people can utilize it in their apps. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it as uh, I like to make the metaphor when you go to the doctor and you have your medical record, and it's just like every visit you've ever had, every ailment you've ever um experienced. It's almost medical records for your car, of your vehicle health and your driving history and habits and all of those touch points and main events that you've had with your vehicle.
Interesting. And how does the person joins, basically, how do they give you the data?
The user is in control. You selectively lease out components of your vehicle history or the signals coming out of your car. So, for example, if you were using a service provider, we have one called Private Auto that helps you sell your car or refinance your car. Um, in that situation, they need to know the VIN of your vehicle, the serial number of it, the make, model, year, your odometer reading to get a correct appraisal and estimate of your resale value. But they don't need to know your hard braking or your location, so to speak. So you can pick and choose which vehicle signals to share with these marketplace partners, in a private and secure fashion, and only share as much information as they need to provide the service that they say they can offer.
Interesting. A question for that I ask pretty much all the DePIN projects is why blockchain? Like, how do you use it, and why wouldn't this be possible to be done just on, a pure centralized system?
Yeah, fantastic question. And unfortunately, a lot in blockchain, people pick the blockchain first, or they decide they want to use blockchain first, and then they think of the solution or the specific use case after. They just want to pile on the blockchain bandwagon and get that buzzword attached to their project. But Demo was very much the opposite, where we had a problem to solve, and that problem was the centralization and bureaucracy of the transportation industry and the auto industry. All of this vehicle data that is being harvested by manufacturers and car brands is held on centralized servers in a silo, unable to be accessed by users. So blockchain made so much sense to be the solution and almost the foil to the old way of doing things. Instead of storing things in a siloed server at Ford in some warehouse, we're distributing that information and that access across the globe and giving it back to the users in a user-owned decentralized network. And
I mean, I would
it
assume they don't really like to share the data between each other, the manufacturers.
No, 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 they do not at all. And it's kind of nuts that smartphones and laptops and other connected devices have come so far, and especially in the last like 5 to 10 years, people have had a reckoning of privacy and wanting to use VPNs and not wanting to use login with Facebook and consumers care more about privacy now than ever. And cars are years and years behind as far as interoperability and composability and portability of data goes. Um, and as far as BMO leveraging the blockchain, we use it in a selective but effective fashion. Anytime a user joins BMO and they mint their vehicle, they receive an NFT for their vehicle that designates their ownership, and all of the metadata for their vehicle is attached to that NFT, like make and model and year of the car. And we also use blockchain for logging in and for authentication. The Demo global accounts use it spins you up a instance of a blockchain wallet that is obfuscated behind like an email login. So it's crypto enabled for the Web3 diehards, but also stupid simple for the mainstream and for people to onboard easily without needing to sign transactions or approve or do anything on chain noticeably. So you use the blockchain for authentication. You use it for the vehicle registry. All 170,000 cars we have connected to Demo have an NFT on chain and all of their information there. And a cool way we use blockchain recently is our developer platform. We recently launched our developer tooling suite and all of our APIs and our developer license. And all of that is done self-serve on chain. Developers can come in, mint a developer license, and receive access to the APIs without any centralized organizer approving them or rejecting them. The Apple App Store is notoriously hard to onboard onto and to maintain good standing in with your app, because Apple has unilateral authority on what they want to see in the App Store, and a lot of the time someone will make an app that they aren't a big fan of and they'll kick them off. The whole Fortnite debacle of Apple and not allowing Fortnite on Mac devices and Epic Games getting all mad at them for that sort of political squabble shouldn't have an impact on building amazing applications. And we've kind of removed that ability from the Demo platform. So any dev can come in and use on-chain authentication to get access.
I think that is brilliant. So you guys pretty much give more flexibility as well as more openness for developers with that approach. And what about the data itself? I mean, I would assume it's pretty valuable. And can people sell it if they want to?
Yeah, there's a lot of options for leveraging that vehicle data, and it's funny because we have a monthly base or a weekly baseline reward on DIMO, where if you connect your car and you're maintaining a valid connection, you earn a weekly reward in the DIMO token. And a lot of people believe that that weekly reward is coming from DIMO selling aggregated user data and then uh, routing that profit back to users. However, that is not the case. The weekly baseline reward is kind of just like an early adopter bonus, a sign up bonus as a burgeoning protocol and as a growing ecosystem. It's baked into the governance of the protocol. It was decided at launch that users would receive this weekly baseline reward from a pool, but it's not from selling your data. So we now are onboarding marketplace providers that allow the user to decide if they want to sell that data or lease it out to any data brokers or AI powered data sets. And just last week, we launched DLP Labs in our marketplace. And it's a platform that allows DIMO users to log in with a couple clicks and share their vehicle data with DLP Labs, and then DLP Labs sells that data to data brokers that are feeding AI agents. So instead of AI agents just scraping the internet and kind of in a read only fashion, they can ingest the vehicle data from DIMO, and drivers will receive a portion of the revenue from selling it to those data brokers. So that is one of the first capabilities of the data being able to be sold purely for the data. But we also have a couple of other options. For example, there's this app called Royal, which allows you to share your vehicle data and receive carbon offsets for it. So in this case, it's a big carbon offset provider that wants as much data as they can get to fuel carbon offset emissions and green energy campaigns. So that's another instance where you can give your data, and it's not even really being used for other purposes like insurance or the pure data sales to data brokers. This is where it's helping the planet and helping to inform carbon offsets. So those are the kind of smaller touch points that you'll see individual users be able to share their data and receive revenue for it. And there is none of that like harvesting all 170,000 cars on DIMO Network and selling that data in aggregated bulk to a data broker. That is not happening.
Got it. And what about the live data streams? Are there ways to share that for the users?
Yeah, so I was talking about the developer platform earlier. By getting a developer license, you kind of gain access to the APIs and can stream that data into your application. And we've kind of had a revolution with that recently with the launch of what's called oracles. Oracles have a certain connotation in Web3 and tech in general of getting outside information into an application. A lot of the times oracles in Web3 are referred to as like price oracles. What's the certain price of a token, and a decentralized exchange needs price oracles to know how to value certain pairs or certain assets. Um, so the DIMO network has its own oracles, which allows all sorts of different data streams to be piped into the network. And one we're working on right now is video data from dash cams or Tesla self-driving cameras. The Tesla is covered in different cameras that it uses for its self-driving technology. And being able to all those signals I mentioned earlier coming off the car, like battery voltage or location or engine load, adding multivariable data to that, such as video or weather or just any type of data oracle. Can make the data much more rich, much more useful for different use cases, like feeding AI agents, like I mentioned before. So all sorts of data streams coming into DIMO, and then yes, coming out. Developers have access to all these different data streams. They pay a flat cost a month per vehicle, and then that revenue goes right back to the DIMO protocol.
That sounds amazing, and sounds like another use case, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
uh,
really a green field of it reminds me of when the App Store first launched on Apple, and there were all those stupid apps like drink a beer that used the gyroscope to show the beer pouring out of the iPhone, or there was another app called I Am Rich, and it cost $500, and it was just a picture of a ruby, a glowing gemstone in an app, and it was that early App Store moment of just seeing what this new device can do, what this new platform, what users will respond to and want to use. You know, there was probably a time where someone said, I'm not going to make an iPhone app. No one's going to use their iPhone. No one wants to be looking at their phone all day. Well, that person would have been very wrong. So right now we're in the discovery phase of how do people want to be using these new technology equipped vehicles, what types of apps do they want to incorporate into their workflow? What will a world look like where everyone's driving autonomous cars and they don't need to focus on the road? What type of apps will they want to be using in that sort of passive environment? Yeah, just really investigating all those possibilities and pushing the edges of what car apps can be.
I would imagine that manufacturers were not super happy about it. Have you got any like pushbacks from their side, or they have no legal rights?
That's a great question. I think automakers are too preoccupied to really notice any big moves out in the world of this nature. I know there's a lot of like third-party Tesla applications like Tessie and Teslab that kind of build on the Tesla API. As far as other automakers, they have their apps that they are focused on. You know, there's Ford Pass and My BMW and OnStar for all the GM cars. I mean, I don't have any anecdotes of automakers being particularly harsh towards us for building our application or working out these use cases. I think it's almost the opposite, where we're excited about the potential of OEMs being able to plug into DIMO and it taking a lot of the engineering bandwidth off of them to build an app store and build an ecosystem of services for their users. I think it's going to be a huge unlock. We always call ourselves the like plaid of cars, or like the stripe of cars. And granted, those are purely payments and financial use cases. But, you know, if someone is starting a new company and they want to have a storefront, and they don't have the resources to go and pursue a big payment provider and to go that route, but they can just easily implement Plaid into their workflow, and that can kind of be used as a in between layer for users to leverage for payment instead of having to do all the heavy lifting themselves. So we really think DeMo will be the agnostic layer of the mobility industry that everyone can plug into. The data is standardized, everything is universal, all the DeMo drivers have their global account, and that will serve as their passport between all of these different automotive apps.
I wonder if manufacturers will come to you at some point saying that, hey, we want to do a real integration, so people don't have to buy additional devices and just use it as it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the dream of we don't need to go to automakers because they will come to us, and cars will have the Demo app embedded already. The car will be minted off the lot, and it would just create such a better landscape than we have currently. Car ownership has only gotten harder and harder over the past few decades, and hard for the consumer specifically. When you buy a car right now, you are the product, unfortunately. And people buy their car once, it's a big transaction, and then after that, they kind of forget about it other than driving it. We really think buying a car can be the beginning of a journey and an experience. And tracking the health and history of that car and using it in all these different applications and making sure its maintenance and repairs are data driven and referenced against all of the other makes and models and years of that car. That should be the way to go. Have an entire car life cycle instead of just buy it and now it's a depreciating asset sitting in your driveway for the next 10 years before you sell it.
Yeah. And Joe, it feels like almost every manufacturer that can afford it is moving towards the self-driving vehicles, or at least some sort of assistant drive. And it does seem that DIMO can be like this data landscape that can provide this, real-time interaction between different manufacturers and, kind of live the tile for everybody. So what I was curious is, what do you see coming for the industry? Just, basically the data, the manufacturers, the auto manufacturers, and for you specifically, for your company.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think to what I just said about like greenfields with the application layer of like we don't even know what sort of applications people will want to use for their vehicles. It's similar with just the automotive industry in general and the design of cars and autonomous driving and what the roads will look like in 10, 20, 50 years. I just heard my co-founder saying yesterday that if all the cars were talking to each other and all of the cars were autonomously driving, you could potentially have cars 3 inches behind each other. There would be no space between cars because they all know when they're going to brake, they all know when they're going to accelerate, they all know when the car in front of them is going to make a turn. That's like an interesting hypothetical of what things could look different, as well as the design of cars. Cars had always been everyone facing forward, looking at the road. In a world where cars are autonomously driving, it would probably shift to a radial layout where it's almost like a booth or a table at a restaurant where you're sitting around a central point and having a conversation or doing work. I think we're on the verge of a programmable transportation revolution, where we shift into these smart cities where everything is connected and talking to each other. The street lights are talking to the stoplights, are talking to the gas stations, are talking to the vehicle. All of the payment is being done in a decentralized way. It wouldn't make sense for two machines to pay each other with a credit card. Credit cards are a man-made invention, so human beings can use their line of credit for apps and services. I think in a machine-to-machine economy, there needs to be a lower latency, quicker, traceable, transparent layer of payment, and I think crypto rails make a lot of sense for that. And I think we're big believers in open source. I was just driving with my friend last week, and they had one of those self-driving rigs connected to their car, where their car was not autonomous driving off the lot, but they bought a smartphone with 3D cameras and wired that up on the dashboard and bought a couple more 3D cameras and put them throughout the car. And it's almost like a jailbreaking autonomous driving setup. It's called Comma AI. And I'd heard a lot about it by working at DIMO, but I had never seen it in practice. And last weekend was the first time I saw it. And it kind of blew my mind of someone being able to use open source software to upgrade their vehicle to an autonomous car. And that kind of feeling and that ethos is exactly what we're shooting for at DIMO, where we believe your car is your asset. You should be able to upgrade it how you see fit or customize it. And that's why we've always supported right to repair bills at DIMO and legislation that prevents kind of the proprietary software or hardware being used within a vehicle, because that's what we have seen happen in the last 5 to 10 years. Cars looked very similar for 100 years. It was four wheels and a combustion engine, and they were all pretty similar. But since the advent of the infotainment system and self-driving and electric vehicles and all that jazz, cars have become much more software defined, where if something breaks, you have to take it back to the manufacturer because so much of it is done with a proprietary computer or a proprietary operating system. And that's a shame. The cars used to be the consummate hackable thing of people having a car in their garage with the hood popped and making modifications on their own, or changing out the engine, or even I installed an auxiliary cable in my crappy Honda Civic in high school because I wanted to listen to my iPod. But that didn't void the warranty or get an alert notification from Honda saying we sensed something was disconnecting your vehicle. It was a much more choose your own adventure type thing. Whereas now, I'm sure if you popped open your Tesla and started messing with things, the software would not be a fan of that. So we want cars to be open source. We want cars to be hackable, and to you get to decide what apps you want to use and how you use your car, and not letting the OEMs kind of have a big brother purview into how you use your car.
I think that's a very noble goal, to be honest. All right, Joe. And we're gonna wrap up, but what are you guys like? What anything you can share with us? The demo will like show this coming year. Any like big news you can share?
Yeah, I mean, we're always cooking up a lot over here in Demo land. As far as marketplace partners go, we've got a chock full pipeline of a bunch of exciting apps and services coming out over the next weeks and months. I mentioned DLP Labs launched last week, but we're going to have even more options for people to earn rewards by sharing data, or different insights into their vehicle. We launched a new widgets feature last month that had more granular insights into things like fuel usage, or distance traveled. Our mobile team has been heads down lately working on more and more widgets. We also have a big uh, kind of I don't know, I don't know how much I can say about it, but allowing you to customize the look of your vehicle within the app and then share that with your friends or your social followings, kind of a organic growth campaign with some awesome visual displays of your vehicle there. And we announced our migration to base last year, so a lot moving there. We're getting really close with the base team, and we just launched as part of the flagship set of providers for their Coinbase One program. And we have another exciting kind of collaboration with Coinbase coming up in the next couple of weeks. Um, Lots of events. We're looking at our 2025 event Rolodex right now. A lot of people are getting excited about Berlin Blockchain Week and EthCC, and it's the Digital Asset Summit this week in New York City, which has caused quite a buzz. I think one of our co-founders, Rob Solomon, is going to head over to IoTex for the IoTex Show and Tell later this week. And I think the biggest thing we're excited for in 2025 is onboarding more developers to Demo. Just in the short couple months we've had the developer license available, we've seen over 250 developer license minted, and that means there's now 250 developers out in the world that are building cool things for Demo. So yeah, there will be the big exciting partnership announcements with legacy companies and bigger auto providers. But me personally, I'm looking forward to the smaller hacker independent developers spinning up a cool game or social app or questing platform on Demo that allows drivers to connect and do more fun stuff with their car, more leaderboards and scavenger hunts. And the vehicle data is extremely expressive and can be used in a lot of different ways. And we're kind of um, testing the waters right now and seeing what can be done. I think programmable rewards are really interesting. We did a little a beta test of badges recently, where if someone drove 100 or 250 miles over the holidays, they would receive a special badge designating their achievement in their DIMO app. And I really want to see more badges and more types of badges added over the coming months, where maybe you get a badge if you break 100,000 miles on your odometer, or you get a badge if you visited the mechanic 5 times in 1 year. You have a lemon or something like
Yeah,
that.
that bet you
Um,
feel like get a new car, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, someone's got to tell them.
I mean, that is pretty cool. You guys have a lot of cooking. I mean, the developers, the partnerships, the exchanges. I mean, that is pretty cool. And I think what you mentioned that, the auto vehicles and data from auto vehicles is an essential part of the kind of smart cities, and what we see um, everybody is going towards, I guess, in a way. I guess every DePIN project, in a way, is a puzzle for that bigger picture of a smart city driven by AI, ruled by AI, and kind of sharing data between each other, getting rewarded for data collection, and getting this reward mechanisms for behavior. So I think you guys are like in the formatter of the auto vehicles part. So thank you. And any last words you want to share with our listeners?
No, I don't think so. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'd say the same thing I always say in crypto, where just play around, use these applications, beta test things, read the documentation. There's no better way to learn in crypto than to just do it. And the coolest and most interesting things I've ever found in crypto was just from following a tweet and trying something out, or helping a friend beta test their application. And it's easy to sit on the sideline and critique crypto companies, but building things is extremely difficult, and it takes a village to make a successful application. So get out there in the world, try out these cool DePIN protocols, get a Helium mobile plan, and connect your solar panels to daylight, and just try out all these applications. And not only will you understand the problems that need to be solved better, but you'll be in a better position to teach others, and decide what is signal and what is noise, and just be a more equipped crypto explorer, I think.
Absolutely. The best way to learn is to give it a try. And again, Joe, thank you so much for coming. And to those who are listening, just go to the description of this AMA. You'll see links to DIMO Network. Give them a follow. I think they're one of the very few very exciting projects that have a very high potential. So, Joe, once again, thank you so much for coming, and you have a good one.
Appreciate the time. Hope everyone has a good day out there.
Bye bye.